On screen, we have here Ryan Walters on the right. He's the superintendent over all of Oklahoma schools. He was an elected official, I believe. On the left is a Fox Business host. What's his name? Not Lou Dobbs. God, I don't remember his name. Stuart Varney? Stuart Varney? That may be it. Anyway, let me just give you an idea of who Ryan Walters is. Because he just passed a bill or just submitted a bill or is supporting a bill to allow kids to attend church services all day rather than going to school and receive school credit for it. So he's sacrificing education for church service. Doesn't matter if you can read or count or do long division. Doesn't matter if you understand the basics of science or psychology or whatever. Irrelevant. What matters is that you love Jesus. Future job prospects, well, might be out of luck on that one, but you'll know what your preacher believes about the Bible. So there's that, I suppose. Listen to what he had to say on Stuart Varney, because that bill is obviously being used by more than just Christians. I don't know how he didn't see that coming, and he is not happy.
Is this all about the teachers' union shutting down the schools? Is that why you talk to them of a terrorist organization?
Oh, yeah, he called teachers' unions terrorist organizations. Like, what?
Well, that's part of it. That's where they started, by forcing our schools into shutdowns till they got a payoff from the federal government.
You mean people are bargaining with their employer to make more money? How did he misinterpret workers bargaining with corporations to raise their wages, to raise their pay? How did he interpret that as, what was it he said?
By forcing our schools into shutdowns till they got a payoff from the...
They're forcing schools into shutdowns until they get a payoff from the... Like they're blackmailing the government? Really? That should tell you all you need to know about his mindset, where he is in there, and what's knocking around up there. The answer is nothing. Nothing. Anyway, listen to what he said about the schools and the, church services and all that. By the way, this video we're about to watch, he released this on his Twit account, I think. It released June 7th, 2024.
We just put in place a new bill, HB 1425. Here's what this bill does. It allows students during the day in high school to go to a church, receive religious or moral study, and get credit for it. We want to encourage our kids to freely express their religious beliefs. And so we're very excited about this piece of legislation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I want kids to be able to freely express their religious beliefs, too. You know what I don't want, though? I don't want teachers or administration forcing children to hold very specific beliefs or forcing children to learn specific beliefs. Children should be allowed to express themselves however they want. Absolutely. But if you're a de facto arm of the state, which you are when you're a teacher, you are acting as a representative of the state, then you have your speech limited when you are in that role. That's just what it is. That's how it's always worked. That's how it should work. If you don't want to have your speech limited while you're in that role, then don't be in that role. When you go home at the end of the day, say whatever you want till you're blue in the face. Nobody cares. But when you're in that classroom, you must teach kids very specific things from a curriculum that's drawn up by, boards that are elected or boards of scientists who understand what children should be learning at what ages, so on and so forth. Like if you're teaching pre-algebra to a class of 6th graders, you are not allowed to start teaching geometry instead, or to teach pre-calculus instead, or algebra 2. You can't do that. You can't start teaching them history of the Civil War instead. That's not how this works. You must follow the outlined curriculum given to you by the state based on scientific studies. And if you don't want to follow it, then leave. That's the bottom line. So he's saying that he wants to sacrifice children's education in favor of pushing them into religious belief, basically. Quick interjection, this won't take long, I promise. I'd appreciate it if you watched to the end of the video, or at least a couple extra seconds, because YouTube bases its algorithm off of watch time. The more watch time a video has, the further the video will go. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally. The 100 questions are intended to challenge a religious leader, so I'd appreciate it if you give it a read. Okay, back to the video.
Well, we've now had the Satanists come in and say they're going to offer courses too and get credit for it. So,
of course! Did you think anything else was going to happen? Guess what, bro? Any law that's passed is open to everybody. No discrimination based on religion or race or sexual orientation or gender identity or whatever other thing. That's in the Civil Rights Act, I think, or something. That's part of the law. You can't discriminate based on those qualities. So if you want students to go to churches to receive their education instead of schools, public schools, Satanists have the right to do it too. So do Muslims and atheists and anybody. Absolutely anybody. Atheism is not a religion. I'm sure I don't even need to say that. But for purposes of litigation, from a legal point of view, courts have determined that it's legislated and regulated as though it was a religion because it's a position on the religious question. So atheism is protected for prisoners. You know, if a prisoner says my religious beliefs dictate blah, 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 and he's an atheist, he still has to have those religious beliefs protected because it's a position on the question. The atheist can come in and do whatever now that he's set this up. But he doesn't want that. That's the thing. He doesn't want religious freedom. Never did. Dude screams about religious freedom constantly. It's not about that. It was always about religious supremacy of Christians. Other religions can go suck a glass as far as he's concerned.
I'm just going to clear this up. No. The Satanists are not coming into our schools. No, Satanism is not a religion. They will not be.
It is actually a religion. Not only is it a religion in the sense of like the courts regulate it that way because it's an answer to the religious question, but it's actually a religion. Like they're registered with the government as a religion, the same as a Christian church or a Muslim church or a Jewish synagogue, mosque, whatever. The Satanic Temple and the Church of Satan are both religions, full-blown religions with religious tenets, and they meet every Saturday or whatever it is, and all of it.
No, Satanism is not a religion. They will not be recognized by our State Department of Education.
Okay, well, you're just wrong.
You are not a religion, Satanist. I know that you guys like lying, and that's a central part of your belief system.
No, it isn't. They're called tenets. And I assume he's talking about the Satanic Temple. I'm not even sure. I believe that's led by Lucian Greaves. I'm kind of connected to Lucian Greaves through a couple of people. Like, I know a bunch of people who know him. I've never actually met him before, but we run in the same circles. It was headquartered in Salem, Massachusetts. I love it. Salem witch trials. That's fantastic. Yeah, Lucian Greaves leads the Satanic Temple. The Church of Satan, on the other hand, was started by Anton LaVey, I think back in the 50s maybe, and that dude was kind of weird. And they believe in weird, wooey, magic-y stuff sometimes. I think now they're mostly a non-theistic religion, but the Satanic Bible is basically just the antithesis of the actual Bible, and they value Satan as a literary figure. Like, Satan is demonized heavily in the Bible, right? But God lies constantly, though Satan is accused of lying constantly. Satan didn't tell a single lie in the Bible, not one. But God tells all kinds of lies. Satan is viewed as like the symbol of the battle against authoritarianism, the underdog that wants to right wrongs, open eyes, reveal people to true information, uncover lies that are told by God. That, you know, that whole thing. That's why the literary figure, Satan, is revered by the Satanic Temple and the Church of Satan both. Quick interjection. This won't take long, I promise. I just want to say I'd appreciate it if you check my Patreon. OwenMorgan.com/Patreon to find it. YouTube's algorithm goes up and down, so I can never predict where it's going to be. Having patrons gives me some level of stability. Okay, back to the video. There's only ever one high priest at a time in the Church of Satan. That high priest originally was Anton LaVey. That's like the leader. Then Anton Sanzor LaVey was 1930 to 1997. Born Howard Stanton LaVey, apparently. Contrary to its name, the church did not promote evil, but rather humanistic values. LaVey, a former carnival worker, had absorbed a variety of occult and ritual magic teachings over the years, which he incorporated into the tenets of the church he founded on something, or May Eve, April 30th. Yeah, it wasn't, probably not the Church of Satan. It was likely the Satanic Temple. They do not like being confused. This is Anton LaVey, if you didn't know, if you've never seen it before, but that's the Church of Satan. Anyway, I don't remember who the next high priest was. I think maybe his son, Anton LaVey's son. And then I think we have a new one now, but either way, it's irrelevant because I believe that this is the Satanic Temple doing all of this, led by Lucian Greaves. The tenets on their website are all very straightforward and honorable. 7 fundamental tenets to the Satanic Temple. 1. One should strive to act with compassion and empathy toward all creatures in accordance with reason. Agreed. Yes, absolutely. 2. The struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. Yes. It doesn't matter what's happening. It doesn't matter what traditions or what laws or whatever exist. Good, moral good, should come above all else. 3. One's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. Bodily autonomy. Love it. Absolutely. 4. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forgo one's own. Your right to swing your fist ends at the tip of my nose. You can swing your fist anywhere you want, except for right here. That's what that one is about. I like it. Yes. 5, beliefs should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs. Agreed. I love it. 6, people are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it and resolve any harm that might have been caused. The ability to say the words, I don't know, is something that it took me entirely too long to learn. It's one of the most valuable lessons that I ever picked up. I don't know. That's an okay thing to say. And you know what that should be followed up with? But I want to know. Let's find out. If you don't know, you don't have to make shit up. You don't have to yell at somebody because they do know. Find out. Ask them. That's what that one's all about, and I love it. 7, every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. Crest image by Luciana Nedalia. Anyway. Yeah, absolutely. So nothing is infallible. That's the point. I love those tenets. Where in there is it's okay to lie? I don't see that in there. So Satanists lie, you say? Go on.
No, Satanism is not a religion. They will not be recognized by our State Department of Education. You are not a religion, Satanist. I know that you guys like lying, and that's a central part of your belief system there. But you will not be participating with our schools. You will not be allowed in our schools.
Like, he's just wrong. There are already Satanists in after-school clubs. Anytime there's a Christian after-school club, there's a Satanist after-school club right along with it.
Nor will you receive credit.
So you will receive credit for going to a church all day, every day, but you will not receive credit for going to a Satanist church. Only Christian ones. And that, my friends, is called hypocrisy. He wants supremacy. He wants Christian supremacy, not equality. He's not reaching for equality. Anyway, he went on Fox News to talk about this too. Ryan Walters did, from Oklahoma superintendent. Listen to what he had to say here.
Oklahoma State Superintendent, who says Satanists are welcome to go to hell. Ryan Walters, Mr. Superintendent, thank you. The executive director of the Satanic Temple said the following, quoting here, "We are committed to offering compassionate guidance to students who come to us so that we can help make positive changes in their lives by listening to their needs and providing support." Kind of vague. What is their real goal? What's the deal here, and would you allow them to go into schools?
Before we continue, if you notice the chyron on the bottom says, bill would allow satanic priests as chaplains. Chaplains are in a unique legal gray area where the military is part of the government, right? But chaplains are allowed to show up, and they're even hired by the military to go from base to base and set up churches and things like that, right? Why? Isn't that a violation of separation between church and state? The answer is no, and here's the reason. Anywhere that people's rights are limited for some reason, even if it's like unintentional, like a hospital, your rights are limited. Your rights aren't exactly limited, but your physical ability to move is limited. So hospitals, jails, and the military are three places that have chaplains. Traveling chaplains. Anytime rights are limited, they try to make it available, make religious belief available. And I'm fine with that, actually. It's perfectly okay with me for people to have religious leaders there nearby in the military or the jails or whatever. Schools are not limiting children's rights to see preachers. They're not in a situation where they're incapable of going to church that night or attending church on a regular basis or calling up their pastor. They're allowed to have a cell phone. They're allowed to, they're physically capable of walking around and all that other stuff. For a very strict, narrow window of time every day, they have to show up here, sit in class, listen to this person blather on about boring and then write their papers, do their homework, and turn it in, and they're done. I'm sorry. School is actually really good. I think it's valuable for kids. It's just sometimes the teachers are boring as sin. The point is that it wouldn't make any sense for a chaplain to be in a school. The reasons presented for chaplains existing in the military, hospitals, and jails doesn't apply to schools. But my wife has been doing a lot of research on this, has dug into it heavily, and even made a chart based off of the bills that are around in the country right now. Let's see if I can find I talked about it not too long ago with her on stream. This is a chart. I made the chart, but my wife got the information for it because she's in law school. This has kind of been her project, but these are the bills. This is every single bill in the United States that allows schools or school districts or whatever to fire school counselors and bring in chaplains instead. To be a chaplain, in most cases, you don't have to have any formal training at all. Look, there's a chart here that shows, like I said, every single state. We got Texas, Ohio, Florida, Nebraska, Alabama, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Maryland, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, Iowa. Those are the ones that have chaplain bills right now that are switching out counselors for chaplains. Somewhere around like 11 or 12 do not require an education at all, and 1, I think, requires an education. 9 have no state certification required, and I think 3 have a required certification. 4 have no eligibility requirements. Anybody can be a chaplain. 8 have sex offenders as ineligible. Everyone else can. Murderer, you're eligible. I don't know. Anything. Somebody who has been arrested for embezzlement, eligible. You got a DUI, you got 15 DUIs, you spent 6 years in prison, eligible. And there's 1 that is other, and other includes a host of other felonies and so on. It's a big list of things. That's why I put other there. Parental consent is not required in 83% of the cases. Parental consent is required in 17%. Isn't that interesting? It's all about parents' rights, parental consent, parental blah, 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 blah. And suddenly they don't give a parental consent when it's inconvenient to them. They're perfectly fine shoehorning pastors into an area with lots of young children and putting them in private rooms with them. What is happening? These people never cared about parents' rights. It was never about parents' rights. It was all about accomplishing their backward political plans and goals. Explicitly replaces counselors, 17%, or not specified if it replaces counselors or not. That was 83%. Should be 0% that explicitly replace counselors. You want to put a chaplain in a school? I still have a problem with that. But you want to replace the counselor with a chaplain who's uneducated, doesn't know anything about early childhood development or psychology or anything? Are you f***ing kidding me? No! No mandatory reporting requirements. 8%. Should be 0%. 8% of the school district, 8% of the states who are allowing chaplains to replace school counselors, 8% of those states have no mandatory reporting requirements. So a kid is being taken advantage of. There's CSA happening imminently, and a kid tells the pastor, the chaplain, if you will, the chaplain has no obligation to report it to the police. It's wrong. The whole thing is wrong. Again, this is the source. Here are the bills. Here are the dates they were filed. You can go through the whole thing yourself if you want. And it was created by my wife, Victoria Anderson. Owenmorgan.com/V Anderson takes you to her page if you're interested. But anyway, that's what we're dealing with right now. I just wanted to bring it up since I saw that along the bottom. I thought that was an important thing to mention. So he's not just trying to bring chaplains into the schools. That's already happening. Ryan Walters, superintendent of Oklahoma, is now actively trying to bring students from the school to churches every day for their education, quote unquote, and receive school credit for it.
What is their real goal? What's the deal here, and would you allow them to go into schools?
The real goal is to point out how goddamn stupid it is to allow kids to go to a church, any church at all, for educational instruction, for academic instruction. Churches are not centers for academics. Churches are centers for religious studies and religious belief.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that people that worship Satan lie. So they are liars. What they're trying to do.
Lying about what?
In worshiping Satan is destroy the lives of children, undermine the very Judeo-Christian values of this country, and destroy our schools. Satanism is not a religion. We will not allow them in our school.
Well, he's just wrong. It is. And what are they lying about? He still hasn't told us. Who's lying? What are they saying? And this whole trying to destroy kids, blah, 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 whatever. No one's trying to destroy kids, whatever, except for people who are trying to get school credit for sending them to church all day. That's definitely going to destroy kids' education. And it's going to destroy America, actually. If kids are coming out of school without a proper education, they're not going to be able to do a job. They're not going to be able to do any higher level job at all.
Is not a religion. We will not allow them in our school. Our bill will not allow Satanists into our schools. It will only allow religions that we have protected in this country since the outset of our founding. And so it's very clear.
That's just nonsense. We live in a secular country, have since the very beginning. The founders, the framers of the Constitution, explicitly and specifically wrote a secular constitution so that everybody of every background, every religion, race, and creed could live here together. There was one guy, one freaking asshole, one founding father, who kept trying to cram religious language into the Constitution, and it kept getting scrapped and thrown out and rewritten because this dude would not stop inserting God into everything, and that was John Adams. He's a freaking nutcase. They finally got a constitution that was 100% secular. That's what the founding fathers wanted.
Set of our founding. And so it's very clear Satanists want to destroy families, want to destroy kids' lives by worshiping the devil.
How is that very clear? How do you know any of that? What are you even talking about?
That's not a religion. We will not allow them in our schools. And it is interesting, Trace. We've had chaplains in the military. We've had chaplains in Congress.
Again, the chaplains are there specifically because people's rights are being limited in jails, in jails, in the military, and in hospitals. I don't know about in Congress. Chaplains should not be in Congress.
Under President Trump, you didn't see the Satanists believing they could actually inject themselves into schools. But under President Biden, he has really cleared the way where they...
Dude, are you kidding me? You think that Satanists were not creating Satanist after school clubs? They've been doing this for like years, since their inception, since like the 30s or the 40s or the 50s. What is he talking about? They weren't doing this under Trump? He must know this is bullshit, right? He must. He can't possibly believe what he's saying right now, right?
Themselves into schools. But under President Biden, he has really cleared the way where they feel very emboldened to try to get in there and influence our kids, and they are not going to send our kids to hell.
No one is trying to influence the kids except for you. That's the thing. Satanists don't want this. They don't want to influence the kids. Their goal is to show the hypocrisy and the problems with what you're doing. If you open the door, anybody can walk through it. He just wants to open the door for Christians and Christians only. He wants to open the door and put a Christian bouncer there to kick anybody else out who isn't Christian, who doesn't belong in the school. That's just not how the law works. You can't discriminate based on religion or sex or gender or blah, 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 whatever, all the other stuff. But he wants to. He wants to discriminate based on religion.
Yeah, not only is it not a religion, it might be an anti-religion. The Satanic Temple mission says the following: provided religious exemption and legal protection against laws that unscientifically restrict people's reproductive autonomy, exposed harmful pseudoscientific practitioners in mental health care, organized clubs alongside other religious after-school clubs in schools besieged by proselytizing organizations, and engaged in other advocacy in accordance with our tenets. I mean, why is this happening? Why are these bills even coming up?
The bills are coming up because Ryan Walters wants Christians in schools, or wants kids to go to churches instead of receive academic education. But the Satanic Temple has been doing lawsuits, not like this. This isn't a lawsuit, but they bring lawsuits against people all the time because the inevitable end to this is Ryan Walters is going to deny them access to the school, and the Satanic Temple is going to sue the school for not allowing them in. And then Ryan Walters is going to have to swing the door wide open to allow them in, or close the door for everybody, one or the other. That's what the Satanic Temple's done since the beginning. That's the goal. That's the point. Oh, and guess what? They are a religion, but they also pay their taxes. Isn't that interesting? It's a religion that pays taxes. There isn't like a negative word that can be said about the Satanic Temple, honestly. Anyway, these people are just like, are they brain dead? Are they this stupid? Or is it an act? It's really hard to tell.
We want the influence of Christian ministers. We understand that
Yeah, but not any other ministers of any other religion.
Judeo-Christian values were a foundation of this country. And
Judeo-Christian values are not a foundation of the country. This is a secular nation. That's the foundation.
We understand that Judeo-Christian values were a foundation of this country. And in the 1960s, the Supreme Court weaponized the federal government against Christians. We have allowed our schools...
What's he talking about?
...to be state-sponsored centers of atheism. So we want our Christian communities,
No, the country has always been secular. It's not state-sponsored atheism. It's secularism. Do you not know what that word means? It means completely separate from any religion. Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, Sikh, Jain, Shinto, everybody can come to this school and learn, and it won't have anything to do with any of their religious beliefs. You can have your religious belief and operate in society just the same. That's what that is. Secularism, not atheism, secularism. They're different.
The Judeo-Christian values of our country to have influence in our schools. What we will not allow are Satanists to hijack these bills, Satanists to try to bully their way into our schools. And so we will stand firm against it. It's not a religion. The founders, Trace, you can go back and it shows you how the left has also taken history and warped it. The founders did not believe you were going to invite Satan into our public schools.
My wife pointed this out when she watched this video before. I was going to have her on to talk about this, but we just couldn't make it happen. She had other stuff going on. But there was no public school when the founders were alive. when the Constitution was written and all of that other stuff. Public school did not exist.
The founders did not believe you were going to invite Satan into our public schools.
They didn't believe in public schools at all. They didn't have any concept of it. The saddest part about this is that this guy is an ex-history teacher. Before he was a superintendent, he was a history teacher. Did he really not know that public school didn't exist until, I don't know, the 1800s or whatever, long after the founders were around? Did he not know that as a history teacher? That blows me away. If he really didn't know that, I'm glad he's not a history teacher anymore. Unfortunately, he's forming out the curriculum for history teachers, among other things. So I think we're in an even worse position now than when he was a history teacher.
The founders did not believe you were going to invite Satan into our public schools. What they wanted to do was protect the faith of our citizens to be
No, they wanted to protect people's right to be whatever they want to be.
able to practice their religious beliefs in school and tell the foundation of our history, which is our Judeo-Christian values.
No, our country's not based on Judeo-Christian values. It's a secular country.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right.
Well, you're wrong if you think that's right.
Superintendent Ryan Walters, thank you.
God, these people drive me nuts. This is complete nonsense. All of it, beginning to end. It's lie after lie after lie. And it's not just like he's mistaken about it. This history teacher, it's not just this history teacher is mistaken. He mistakenly thought that blah, 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 whatever. No, he's lying, in my opinion. He's outright bald-faced lying about what he's saying here. You can't convince me that he believes anything that he just said. But once again, this is a difference between me and my moral system and Ryan Walters. It's not about what we believe, okay? This guy believes that, I don't know, we should have more religion in schools. And I believe we should have no religion in schools, right? But I'm not willing to lie and cheat and manipulate and twist things around to get my way. I'm not willing to discriminate against people to accomplish my goals. Ryan Walters is willing to do all of that stuff and more. He's willing to discriminate against non-Christians. He's willing to lie and manipulate to get what he wants. This is a fundamental difference. It's not a difference of beliefs. It's a difference of tactics, of strategy. How low are you willing to go? If Ryan Walters was on my side, I wouldn't talk to him. He's fucking disgusting. He'd never be on my side. Even if we believed the same things, he'd never be on my side. I wouldn't allow it. I wouldn't have anything to do with somebody like this. Not because of his beliefs, but because of his tactics. It's just wrong. Anyway, I'm sorry my wife couldn't make it for this, because this is actually pretty interesting, and I'm sure she would have had a lot to say about it. But tell me what you think about it in the comments. This stuff is shameless, man. Absolutely shameless. You are free to be any kind of Christian allowed. Yeah, exactly. I've heard a lot of people argue this, that especially Ryan Walters. I mean, we just kind of listened to him argue this, but it's fascinating. Atheism is a religion, they argue. Atheism's a religion. And then, in the same breath, they say, the Constitution says you have freedom of religion. So you have to be a religion. You can't be no religion. So which is it? Is atheism a religion that I'm free to be? Or is it not a religion at all, which I'm, not allowed to be? There's no logical consistency between any of the threads that link everything together. Their belief systems are completely, like when you zoom out, look at an overarching picture of their whole belief system, of Ryan Walters, specifically his belief system. None of his tactics, beliefs, principles, ideals, morals, none of it connects. None of it connects to his actions. None of it. It's all backward. It's all contradictory. He violates his own self-ascribed moral precept on a daily basis. Like in this, he's lied, I believe. He's told flat out, bald-faced, blatant lies. But lying is like forbidden in his mind. And he said lying is a tenet of the Satanic Temple. No, it's not. He knows that, I'm sure. It's not a tenet of the Satanic Temple. He's lying as he decries lying as evil. So what is the overarching thread is the question we should be asking. He's drawing this jagged, confused, up picture for us. It doesn't make any sense when we look at it. So we take the individual pieces and place them all down on a table and see what image emerges out of it. Let me give you a quick example. Republicans want to ban abortion, right? They say it's a life. Lives mean things. You can't just kill a human life at, 2 weeks pregnancy or whatever, even though it's like 150 cells at that point. But anyway, you can't kill a human life. Okay, so you value human life. That's the overarching belief. Except they also don't want sex education, which would objectively reduce abortion. Additionally, they want to ban birth control. I had a story to talk about. I'm not going to be able to get to that tonight, but I'll talk about it sometime in the near future. Keep a lookout on my channels for it. They want to ban birth control. They took a vote on it in the House to ban birth control. They want to switch sex ed classes to abstinence only, and they want to ban abortion. What is the overarching thread here? It isn't reduce the number of abortions. That is not the goal, clearly, right? What's the goal? It seems to me that the goal is to trap women into relationships. Oh, yeah, no-fault divorce, too. They want to remove that. We've been talking about that a lot recently, too, right? Republican politicians, they've been bringing that up in bills and stuff. I believe the goal is to trap women and to force them to stay in a relationship with a man. Make it more difficult to escape. Has nothing to do with abortion. They couldn't possibly care less about abortion. You can't convince me they give a shit. What is the overarching picture with Ryan Walters here? Tell me what you think in the comments. What's the overarching picture with him? What is his real goal? He's stating that his goal is whatever, but what's the real goal? Looking at it, all the lying, all the hypocrisy, all the principles violations and everything else, what's his real goal here? What is he really trying to accomplish? Tell me what you think in the comments.